Okay, we're back, and it's COMP123. It's week 1, lesson 1, part 2. And for those of you following me on YouTube, you'll see that part of my screen is going to be cut off. So bear with me while I try and show you what I can. Who knows, maybe YouTube will be even better than what you see up here. You never can tell. What I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to do a quick poll just to get your understanding of if you could think about things. And we're going to talk about next week's stuff today with my little poll. So I'm going to use what I use, and this is what I'm going to do on a regular basis, is I use something called Poll Everywhere. I'm just going to bring this up for a second. So we're just going to cancel. I got a couple polls that I prepared, and I want to see if you can kind of understand how this works. So to join me on my poll, I want you to go to I want you to text learn to 37607 with your cell phone, if you can. It's a free text, if you can. So go to 37607 and text learn. That'll join you with my poll, all right? And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a question. The question is going to be a mandatory parameter is, and so on. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to put that poll live right now. And then you're going to be able to poll A, B, C, D, and so on as we get this. So poll again, to join it, it's text learn at 37607. We're going to get back there in a second. And I'll see if I can reduce that just a little bit because you guys are having some difficulty seeing everything. And I apologize for the resolution. It really sucks. And I'm not happy. Let's try this out. Oh, I got some responses already. Is any argument sent to a method? Keep going. Let's go, guys. You can't read half of it. I love it. Okay, let me just see if I can make this a little smaller. And of course you can't read it. Of course you can't read it. But you can also go to pollev.com/learn. And then you can, if you can't see it here, you can always go there and do it without your cell phone. See if you can see it now. Of course you cannot. And this is going to be a challenge. We're going to fix this. I'm going to make sure this is done. This is fixed. How about that? So again, a mandatory parameter is A, any argument sent to a method. B, is preceded by the keyword man, right? C, requires an argument to be sent from a method. And D, all of the above is true. So take your time, answer the question. Again, you can do this online if you want to go to the website, which is pollev.com/learn, or you can do it through your cell phone, whatever you feel more comfortable. I got one response. I got a couple of responses coming in. Come on, guys. Get to it. This is a one-question thing. Chop, chop. Snap, snap. Let's go. Don't just look at it. Got a couple of responses to say, too. You guys are looking at the responses, and you guys aren't looking at the questions. A couple fours. Let's see what's happening here. I'm going to hide this pretty soon. A couple of sixes. Sevens. All right. Oh, I got a D. For those of you who are new, again, we're just having a little poll going, right? Again, you can go to pollev.com/learn, and you can see the, you'll be able to see the choices there as well if you don't want to text, if you're not a texter. All right, we got one B. So we've got 9, 19, We got 20 responses. Come on, there's more than 20 people in the class. Let's go. I told you I do this game stuff all the time, right? You guys aren't getting your badge today because of this. This is bad, right? You can only answer once, I believe, unless you're really super smart and can go around my limitations, right? So I got like what, still some space left for people. Okay, who hasn't responded yet? Put up your hand just so I can see. If you haven't responded, I'll give you a few more minutes, and then I'm going to shut the poll down. We'll talk about it a little bit, right? And again, I just want this to be a reminder of, and kind of a precursor of what we're going to do next week. Okay, we got a couple of Ds. I got more on the 14 sides. Let's see. We're getting there. We're almost there in terms of total people here. 24, 25, 27, right? By the way, this is another alternate way of you guys signing in. You know that, right? So it won't be for now. Eventually, I will make you. It'll record who you are and all that kind of stuff. For now, it's only first day, right? Okay, who hasn't done it? I think I'm going to stop it here, just from a time perspective. Okay, I think most of us have done. So let's take a look at some of the results. I'm just going to pull this now, and I'm going to stop the poll a little bit. So let's look at this. A mandatory parameter. When we look at a method, right? It's definitely not D, right? So everyone who says all of the above, and I put all of he above, of course, when I'm typing it, because it was this morning, and it was just before my coffee, right? So I didn't have a chance to even properly type stuff. So you'll have to excuse me for that one. All of the above is not true, right? Is preceded by the keyword man. Well, that's why all of the above is not true, because there is no keyword man, right? So that's wrong. So whoever did that one, those three responses, and again, it's kind of anonymous. So it's either is any argument sent to a method or requires an argument to be sent from a method. Okay. So let's understand what this is. A mandatory parameter requires an argument to be sent from a method. From a method. That's wrong. It's got to be, is any argument sent to a method, right? So it's number A, or A, right? B obviously is not right. C, the trick question is the from, right? That can't be, because an argument isn't sent from a method. We return stuff from a method. We don't send it. All right, question B, right? I know there's another one. I'm going to put this one live. Which is not a type of method parameter in C#? A, value. And if you don't know what these are, it's okay. Again, precursor for next week. B, reference. C, forensic, or D, output. Go ahead. Come on, this is a little brain teaser, guys. Get you awake in the morning. Let's go. And if you choose C again, who's choosing C? Okay, guys, you got this. You got this one. So obviously it's C. All right. What the hell put B? All right. Hey, don't trick me, guys. Okay, if you guys are doing this just to make me laugh this morning, all right? That's right. Reference is definitely a parameter. Value, reference, and output obviously are. The easy one would be forensic. And if you see, an exam question and you see forensic, or if you see something related to Star Trek, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, or something else from a movie perspective, you know it's wrong. Okay, I'll put those on. I'll put these on the exam. I'll say things like the flux capacitor, right? I'll put that on there if you know. So if you see that, if you answer check flux capacitor, oh, I'm gonna have a laugh that day. All right, so let's stop that one, and let's go to the one more. I think I got one more. This one's more of a serious one. Okay, a parameter array, and this is something, if you guys don't know it, it's okay, is declared using the keyword params, right? can accept any number of arguments of the same data type. I haven't put it live yet. I'll put it live right now. Both of these are true, or neither of these are true. Which one would you say is the right one? Can accept any number of arguments of the same data type. Both of these are true. Neither of these are true. Oh, get some other responses. Interesting stuff going on here, right? Instant response. Come on, guys. This is like going to the movie, right? 6, 11. Oh, we see that both these are true. A lot of people are saying that, right? It's interesting, right? But no one's putting this keyword params, right? It's that. So let's. This is good enough. I think I got a smattering of responses here. So is there a keyword params? The answer is yes. That's true. So this is okay. Can accept any number of arguments of he same data type. That's at an hotel this morning. I was typing he instead of the, right? Of the same data type. Yeah, that would be true as well, right? But this one's definitely not true. Neither of them are true because this one's true. So then this one can't be true, right? Remember what we did when we talked about, if you guys remember conditional operators, if and or, if one is true, then the other one, obviously neither of these are true, can't be true. I don't think I have another one, do I? No. So these are the results. So we're going to be doing this kind of stuff. I know this is kind of an intro, but every week I'm going to be doing a little bit of a quiz like this from the previous week and maybe the next week, right? So this is how we started off. I want to be doing this so when I'm going to kind of try and sharpen up your brain a little bit when you come in, get your brain rolling, and then we'll go into right into doing the kind of the work that we're going to be doing with Visual Studio 2013 for me, 2012 for you. And again, I'm going to be doing things from the PC side, which is this side, right? Again, I'm a Mac guy, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be using the Mac. It's mostly going to be Visual Studio 2013 and VMware Fusion, because I do things on a virtual machine all the time. Questions around this? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Feedback, right? Some of you might like this kind of stuff. It's a kind of a thing that I like to kind of be part of, which is called gamification, right? Playing a little bit of games within class, because let's face it, this stuff is pretty darn boring, right, at times, right? I go through methods and everything else, and you guys are going to be bored out of your skull, especially at 8:30 in the morning, right? So I'm going to try and give you more of this kind of stuff to make it more interesting. And the YouTube videos will also have this stuff. So if you wanted to see the results and you missed the class for some reason or another because it was too cold, you didn't feel like coming, you had too many drinks last night, whatever, you can see the results on YouTube for the people that came in. Okay. So let's go right into Visual Studio 2013. And let's talk about a little bit more. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to shrink up my screen a little bit here because you can't see it all. And I apologize. I will fix this somehow. There we go. So when we do stuff with Visual Studio, and in this is kind of the start page view for you guys, for people who have forgotten what it looks like, or who really didn't like using the IDE. And I'm not sure if the last professor made using Visual Studio mandatory. Did he do that? Hopefully he did, right? Because everyone's got different professors. A lot of these sections are run by different people. I'm not going to make it mandatory, but I recommend it highly because IntelliSense, Microsoft IntelliSense is a really cool thing. So again, if I'm going to kick off a new project, and if you want to follow me here on Visual Studio, you can go ahead. Let's do this together. And then we'll take, after this little piece, we'll take a little break for about 5 minutes to do a bio break, and I'll come around, maybe get to know some of you, so we can, when I mark you in on time or late next week, we'll know who each of you are. Okay, so again, I'm going to start off a Visual C# project, and one of the things I'm going to be doing, well, this is another thing that I do differently than other people, because for me to post code examples and stuff like that up online, it makes no sense to me, right? So today, what I'm going to ask you to do, because you haven't had me for the first course, is I need you to open up a GitHub account. If you don't have a GitHub account, we're going to do that together. But first and foremost, let's just do this together. So again, Visual C# is where I'm going to go. And then from here, I'm going to go into either, I can do a blank app if I wanted to. But really what we're doing is this console application that we're going to be building. If I click on console application, if you notice down here, my settings are going to be different than your settings, obviously, because it's looking at a particular folder in my file structure. Right, so here is console application 1 is what it's saying. But I'm going to kick off, I'm just going to go to a different folder. Let's see if I can do this while looking at it over here. And of course I cannot. And bear with me. I'm just going to go into lesson 1 here and select it. Actually, I'll create a new folder. And I'll call this Code Archive. So I'm just going to kind of kick this off for a second, and then we'll talk about this. So this is where my code is going to be handled, right? I'm going to kind of put it in your COMP123 programming course, Programming 2, Lesson 1, Code Archive is what mine looks like. Yours will be different. And I'm going to do a little Hello World application, just like to refresh you on what we did last time, right? So here's my Hello World, right? And when I press OK, Microsoft Visual Studio 2013 kind of pumps in a lot of stuff that's pretty darn useless. I don't need all this stuff. I don't need link, that's for sure. I don't need the collection generic. I don't need this threading task. I don't need any of this stuff. I do need system, however, because if I want to do systems dot out the print line or anything like that, right? I want to be able to do it through the system namespace. Remember namespaces from first section. The system namespace is almost like a folder of where I'm going to get my the classes that I'm going to be using, right? So if I start typing in IntelliSense, and this is all good, my classes program, that's what it says here. This is the default. My namespace here is Hello World because that's what my code is called, Hello World, right? I don't have to accept this in C#. I can change this to whatever I want, right? Like, for example, this is my first project, right? Here's my project inside the solution. And if you remember how this works out, and again, I don't know how some professors work out, but some of them might work out so that every lesson, lesson 1 would be the actual solution, and then Hello World would be my project, right? That's fine. You can do it that way. But for me, I'm just going to kind of make one at a time for now, and then next week I'll go into next week will be our first official lesson for the class, and then we'll do things a little differently. Okay, so here's my Hello World. If I want to rename this, what happens when I rename my Hello World file right here? And this is the Solution Explorer view on the side. Who knows what happens if I rename it? Anybody, put up your hand. Don't worry. I'm not going to execute you. Okay, I'm not the evil empire. Don't worry. You guys are all going to be cool. Anybody, put up your damn hand. Thank you. Yes, what's going to happen? It changes the name. I know it's silly, but people have forgotten. And I'm going to go through this like as if you haven't done programming before.
I don't think it changes the name.
You don't think it changes the name? All right.
It changes the name there, but it doesn't change after name.
Let's see what happens. Let's see if you're right or wrong. I should actually put this in the poll, right? I should see what happens, right? If you're right or wrong. So I go here I right-click. Again, this is Visual Studio 2013. 2012 might look a little differently, but more or less it's the same. If I right-click on this and I go down to rename down here, really what I'm doing is I'm refactoring. All right, I'm refactoring. That's what it's called. So if I change this from Hello World to Program 1, right? Program 1, and I redo that, does it change my namespace? Right? That's the project. Right? What about, let me just go back and change that back, right? Because that's, oops, no, I don't want to remove it. I want to rename it, right? If I take this back and go to Hello World, that's what my project is called, my Hello World project. And if I rename this, what happens when I rename this program, this file here? Anybody? Yeah. Automatic? I'll change it automatic? That's good to know because some people forgot that happens, right? So if I go right here and I go rename, I'm refactoring again, right? But in this particular case, it actually affects the class. And if I go here and I call this hello world, again, can I do that? Can I say I have a hello world solution, a hello world program, and a hello world class? Is that possible? It says, hey, look, you're renaming a file. Would you also like to perform a rename in this project of all references to the code element program? And the answer would be yes, if I'm renaming, right? And then, oh, that's okay. So this is my class, hello world. And then I have still my static void main. This is the main method of my class. Makes sense? So I've renamed this. And again, from a Solution Explorer window perspective, you see that it also tells you a little bit. If you kind of drill down here, you see that there is, it shows you more details about the class and any methods that are inside the class, right? Solution Explorer wise. Just a review. That's all we're doing. Okay? Okay, so this is cool. I've done that, and I've got all these funky usings. What are the usings for? For those people who are, again, this is review. Yeah. What's your name, little girl? Ravina. Tell me what the usings are for, Ravina, since you're answering. Come on. I'm going to put a poll together pretty soon. And then it's going to bore the crap out of you guys because I'm going to actually type the poll out and make mistakes again, like he instead of the. Go on.
I think using is a keyword to access all the things that are contained in the class that if system is there, then we can use every class that is contained in the system.
I like your answer. So the answer is, she's saying it's kind of a keyword to access all the members of the class, right? When I go using. Actually, the real way to think about it is think about it importing. I think if you take Python, import would be the right way to think about it. And in some other C-style languages, we also import in Java and so on. That's what it is. We're importing or attaching all of the classes that belong to the system namespace to our file, right? That's what we're doing. So we're saying, hey, I want to have access to the system namespace because it's not bundled with C# by accident. Yeah.
Is that a library?
It is a library, but a library can also be a namespace, right? So if you think about the namespace system, it's almost like a folder. Imagine if I have all my files, if you will, inside a folder called system. That would be the namespace that I'm accessing, right? So when we create our own namespaces, which we will be doing more and more, you're going to see, again, when I say using, I'm saying, hey, give me all the stuff that's in this namespace. Now, I don't have to write it this way. What if I just did this? If I just killed all this stuff? And I start typing using. And then once I start typing system, right, can I do this? Is that possible as well, right? How come it's giving me an error? It says identifier expected, right? Because some languages like Java, you don't have to do this. You can just kind of put a star, right? It doesn't work like that in C#. C#, you have to be explicit. C# is a stricter language in many ways. So let me just kind of come out of that. Again, for some of you who've taken Java and you're like, hey, you know, it's kind of the same. It's not. So that's the first thing you have to remember. Using, it's like import, but C# has different rules. So IntelliSense, let's talk about IntelliSense just to remind you. So I start typing system. Oh, IntelliSense comes up and has, you know, kind of some options here. Operating system, system exception. It'll try and find something to match the word. If I have using, if I've set up an import like using to include the system namespace, I'll be able to see all of the classes associated with the system namespace because I use the using keyword. Okay? So if I kind of put enter and then I use the dot, what's the dot do? Come on. This is truly refreshing.
System is a class and dot is
system a class? Or system a namespace?
a namespace. And after dot we write the method name or the class which we want
The
to access.
class, and we're using the dot accessor methodology. Remember, whenever you use C-style languages, JavaScript, Java, C++, whatever, most of them are dot accessor based, right? So it means if I use the dot or period, that separates my classes, my namespaces, my methods, all that kind of stuff, and my properties, right? That's what it does. It's a separator. So when I use the dot, I can go dot, dot, dot. I can continue to use the dot to separate stuff. So if I look at stuff and I want to output to the screen, I can select, if I didn't know what it was to output, right? I can select all these different methods classes that are associated with the system namespace. Okay, so here's all of them, right? Okay, so if I want to output to the console, right? How do I output to the console? Who remembers how to do that? Console.WriteLine? Do I do that just from the console? Console.WriteLine? Would that be enough? Or do I have to do something with system? Come on, who remembers? This is crazy stuff easy, right? Console.WriteLine, right? I don't need system at all. If I start typing console, I'm accessing something that's built in to C#. See, I'm not using the namespace system anymore because I don't need to, right? Console is the class console. So here's my console class. And if you notice it highlights in blue, right? Because that means just like the hello world class that we just were making highlights in blue, so does the console, right? So both of these things highlight in blue. So now I can use the .accessor methodology to access my next thing, right? So if I go down, these are all, if you notice, there's different things here, right? Again, when I have a wrench, right? What does this wrench mean from IntelliSense perspective on the IDE? See this little wrench? What does this little wrench mean where my arrow is? Come on, guys. If you guys weren't taught this stuff, we're going to have to do a reworking, right? It means it's a property, right? All the little icons mean something with IntelliSense. So we're going to focus on this kind of stuff to make you guys better and better programmers, right? It doesn't matter whether I'm programming in JavaScript, C#, VB, F#, whatever I'm doing, it's very similar from an IntelliSense perspective. This is how they look. Okay. So if I want to change my console background color, right, it's assuming that I can do such a thing, right? And if you notice, if I hover over it, it says, in my IntelliSense, it says console background color gets or sets the background color of the console, right? That's what it does if I hover over it enough. If I skip down, right, to what we're normally used to using, right? If I go to out, right, here's my out. It also shows it as a property, right? And if you notice, can I go right to print line? Or do I have to use the out? How do I do the console command in C#? Come on, guys. This is like super easy. I'm going to start picking on people pretty soon. I should have had this as my poll, right? To wake you guys up in the morning. Anybody. It doesn't matter. This is a safe environment. I'm not going to execute you. I told you. There's no guns behind you. Right? Yes? Console.WriteLine. I don't have to do out. I don't have to do print line. It's not part of Java or JavaScript or something else. It's WriteLine. So if I start typing WriteLine, what's the difference between write and WriteLine? Oh, look at you. Oh, someone else. I know you know the answer. I'm going to ask you. What's the difference between write and write?
Write when it writes whatever you have and it stays on the same line. And then WriteLine just goes to the next one the next line. So write doesn't add a new line character, right, to the feed, right? Hey, how come this new line, what the hell was that anyway? Where did that come from? Does anyone know? This is kind of like from a history of programming kind of stuff. Yeah. I know that's how you do it, but what this new line character that's included in the write line, right? Why did we ever have this new line character? Why the console? Why was it written like that? Does anyone know the history behind it? It comes from the old typewriter days, because I'm an old guy, right? So in the typewriter days, you actually had to hit, new line. It would actually go, the carriage return, it would go to the next line, right? And the carriage was actually this big honking thing on the typewriter that you had to actually push aside with this little lever, and it would just kind of move across the typewriter. And remember, computers came from typewriters, right? Well, the computer keyboard. So this is like kind of a throwback from the old typewriter days. So write gives us the ability to write, and it stays on the same line. So I can write many things on the same line, like you said. Whereas when I use WriteLine, and I open up a quotation mark, what's WriteLine? Is WriteLine a property, or is WriteLine a method? You're answering again. How about this? A method? I know you know everything, but I have to skip to other people, right? Because you're answering. It's a method? It's a method, right? Okay, so that means a method. Can I send a blank? No. If you notice what's happening here in IntelliSense, I get a bunch of numbers. 1 of 19. How come it says that? 1 of 19. Anyone know that? Yes. 19 different signatures,
right? I like your options idea, but it's 19 different signatures. And we're going to be talking about, next week, we're going to be talking about overloading methods and how we can write overloaded methods. And this is what this is doing. If you notice, would this be, and if you notice the method call, right, it tells you in IntelliSense what this is, void console.WriteLine. Console being the class that I'm accessing, WriteLine being the static method that I'm sending my information to. Can I send an empty parameter? Because it is. Look, it's here. It's listed as one of the options. I don't have to send a parameter. It's not a mandatory parameter. Why? Because one of the method signatures, we're going to talk about next week again, has an empty parameter as an option. What does this do? When I put a console.WriteLine in with no parameter, what does it do? Yes? Moves down. In fact, if anything, it adds in this \n character that we can't see onto the console. That's what this thing does, right? So we don't have to. This is a valid method call. It's one of the signatures that we can use of the method. So if I go back, and if I type in my first parentheses again, and if I scroll down, if you notice, there's a bunch of other options, right? So I can add in a Boolean value, right? That's one of the options. A character, one single character I can throw in. A character buffer, we'll talk about that. A decimal value, a double. So these are all the things that the WriteLine method will accept, for those of you who have forgotten. There's also an object value, right? That'll do that as well. So we want to throw in an object or a string. And really what we're going to do is put in our string value in there, because that's what I want to kind of do when I do my hello world. So there's a bunch of different options. If I choose one of these things, if I choose one of them, like if I actually try and choose them, it won't allow me to choose them. It'll just cycle through all of the options to give me a chance to understand what I can put. So IntelliSense, that's why I recommend, some people say, I really hate Microsoft Visual Studio 2012, 2013. It's 70 million lines of code. It's really fat and heavy. Do I have to use it? Can I not use a text editor? Certainly you can use a text editor, and you can actually compile things on the command line. I don't recommend it. It just takes too long, right? As developers, we have to think about doing things the fastest way we can. And that's the whole idea about rapid application development. We want to develop things as quickly as possible. So I'm going to put in hello world. And I got to add in, oh, let's put in an exclamation mark. Come on, this is our first program back from break, right? Over Christmas and New Year's. Happy New Year, by the way. Console.WriteLine. Well, what if I run this thing right now? What's going to happen? Right? Because I'm in debug. I can go into debug mode, and if I run this thing, am I going to see my results? How come? It's going to what? It's going to open and close, right? Why is it going to open and close? Come on, guys. This is like old school remembrance. Yeah. If there's no? I can't hear you. There's no bugs. All right, that's one of the reasons. What about if I want it to stay open? I want the command prompt to stay open. What do I do? Yeah. I could do Control F5. Yeah, okay. What else? Is there anything else I can put in there to stop the command? I can do what? Ask for an input. Read key. I like read key. Right? How do I do the read key? Let's do the read key. What do I put in? Okay, I'm going to start typing console. I'm going to put dot. And if read key is part of my properties or methods, and look, there's another little thing here. It's not a property, right? And if you notice, WriteLine is also with this little square, right? How come the little square is there, right? This little cube. It's a method, or it could be actually what I like to call an object, right? And we're going to talk about objects next in a couple weeks. Once you see this little square, or this little cube, sorry, this cube tells you this is the object, this is the method. It could be a method call, it could be an object call, but that's the way you differentiate it between the title will be a property, and the cube here, it signifies that WriteLine as well as read key would be the method. Now if I open up, if I start writing it up, kind of opening this up, I have a couple of signatures here, one of two, right? And if I go to the next signature, it says, I can also put in a Boolean value as an intercept. It says, obtains the next character or function, key pressed by the user, and the pressed key is optionally displayed in the console window. Intercept determines whether to display the pressed key in the console window, true to not display the pressed key, otherwise false. Okay, so I don't have to use this method signature. Method signature. I don't have to use this method signature. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again so it's in your head, because next week we're going to talk about it again. And as we continue to develop classes and objects, I'm going to talk about method signatures over and over again and overloading methods. Okay, so read key. So I don't have to put anything in there, and it doesn't accept quotations. What if I put quotations in there? There's no, if I say get this key, right? What if I put it in there? Will it accept it? I get this squiggly red line. What does that mean, right? Well, it's easy to know. Again, it's just a refresher for you guys, right? It means that there's an error, because you know what? I'm trying to overload something that doesn't exist. There is no overload that allows me to put in a string, right? So that means there is no signature that's been written for the method or for this object read key that allows me to put in a string. That's why the squiggly line is there, right? So it's really important for us to notice what methods that we're allowed to use, the signatures for the methods we're allowed to use when we write stuff. Okay, so let's just put that as a read key. I like that, and maybe some kind of input for the user, or some kind of prompt for the user, let's say. Let's add in another console.write line, right? A blank space, and maybe another one that kind of says press any key, right? All right, so hello world, press any key, and then read key, and that should do what I have to do. And if I press this start button, which is really my debugging button, what does it do? Will it disappear now? No. I should have put some input, or else it won't disappear. It'll just hang there, right? Let's hopefully this is how it's going to be. So I run it, and if all things go well, I've got my little code here that says hello world, press any key, and if I press the key, boom, it goes by the wayside. All right, very simple example. A refresher to see what happened last time. Any questions before we move on to more complicated examples? All right. If you need to go on to a bio break right now, I know we've kind of sat here for an hour, and some of you rushed in here late, right? If you need to go to the washroom, or if some of you have other reasons to leave the room, now would be the time. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes, and then we're going to get back to this, and I'll stop recording.